Here on this channel, we try to do news segments to alert you of some of the most pressing things that have consequences in our future. They're not typically the storm that's approaching the shore as much as they are a global, macro examination of threats that you often only really get a glimmer of in the mainstream media if they really say anything at all about it. We bring up the weather, we talk about global conflicts, crop threats, and politics to provide unbiased, straightforward analysis to try and help you cut through the slants and the rhetoric to make the best decisions in how you prepare for the future. Now, this week, we're going to take a look at the old and emerging threats off America's coast, across Africa, and Ukraine and Russia. And there's some concerning news coming from China as their food production is being hit hard, which will impact the entire global food security. Farmers in North America are experiencing challenges as well from multiple weather anomalies. And to top it all off, deepening rifts are emerging in U.S. politics at deeper levels. I'll also reveal the lucky winner of last week's winner of the camping stove giveaway and provide you details on how you can participate to win in this fantastic prize for this week. Let's dissect the most important news this week. Crop production. The potential for threats to our food supply is one of the concerns that I personally have, and I know is a big concern in our community as well. And before I get into the details of this, it's important to remember that we live in a global food market. What happens in one country's food production capabilities can and will eventually impact your wallet when purchasing food, along with security threats when other nations experience food production issues. Now, I'm going to be releasing a video this week on the possibility of multiple synchronous crop failures and what that might mean to us. But for now, you should be aware of a few critical pieces of news. First, after smoke blotting out the sun and now record rains, Quebec farmers are saying that they're really struggling. Weather-related damage to crops is being reported at 37% higher than a decade ago, and farmers were already dealing with rising costs associated with inflation. Now, the chaotic weather could mean some farms will be forced to fold operations, and it's not just the growing regions of Canada either. Deadly floods from extreme weather have struck hard in China's grain-producing areas, as we reported in last week's news segment. Now, days of heavy rain resulting from Typhoon Doksuri's aftermath have led to severe flooding in China's primary grain-producing region in the northeast. Now, this flooding has caused significant crop losses, impacted rice fields, vegetable greenhouses, and factories. And the flooding raises concern about food security, mainly since the affected region contributes to over a fifth of the country's grain output, including soybeans, corn, and rice. Now, these extreme weather events, combined with previous downpours and heat waves, are expected to affect food prices and emphasize the importance of agricultural security in China's economic stability. Extreme flooding from torrential rain has resulted in an estimated €500 million of damage to two-thirds of Slovenia. Torrential downpours on Friday led to flooding, with rivers rapidly swelling and overflowing into homes, fields, and communities. Slovenia's meteorological service reported that an entire month's rainfall occurred in less than 24 hours, contributing to the deluge. Slovenia's major agricultural exports include wheat, corn, sugar beets, barley, potatoes, apples, and pears. You can expect that these floods will put a further dent in the global supply of, at the very least, wheat. If it's not too much rain plaguing global wheat crops, it's too little. America's wheat fields have become so plagued by drought that farmers are now poised to abandon crops at the highest rate since 1917. Extended periods of drought on the U.S. plains have severely impacted the iconic grain fields, with some wheat crops so stunted by moisture deficiency that they won't yield grain heads, rendering them unharvestable. Now, farmers can opt for grain insurance claims for these felled acres or consider alternative crops. Analysts are set to assess the situation during an upcoming annual tour in Kansas, the leading wheat-growing state, where varying conditions, including short wheat, sparse stands, and promising fields, will be observed, while several areas may remain unharvested. I don't know if I trust the so-called analysts every time, but when farmers from Quebec to the Great Plains sound alarms, you bet I listen. Global food prices are already severely challenged as Russia ended the grain deal, allowing Ukrainian grain to flow out of the country safely, and India has restricted the export of rice. Now, this disruption in supplies from Ukraine and India, both major exporters of affordable food products, exacerbate a global food crisis, especially in regions like sub-Saharan Africa, where rising prices and potential food insecurity threaten food access. As I'll cover in a video this week, this will impact you even if you're surrounded by fertile and productive farms where you live. Be sure to check out that video when we release it this Saturday to find out how and to stay ahead of this emerging global food scarcity. What do you think? Are you feeling the effect of global crop failures yet? Let us know in the comments section below. Old and emerging conflicts. Russian and Chinese naval warships are conducting joint operations off Alaska. A combined 11 foreign war vessels force the U.S. to dispatch 4 of its own. Now, these incursions are not out of the ordinary. The U.S. conducts transit of the Taiwan Strait as a matter of recourse. Unsurprisingly, foreign adversaries would claim the same United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, though that right is typically reserved for peaceful vessels. Now, the two unique aspects of this recent incursions are that it is a coordinated joint operation amongst two superpowers frequently displaying opposition to the United States. Now, second, it's a fleet of 11 vessels. These incursions can lead directly to more significant conflicts. Given the larger number of vessels and the coordination, it is likely to have sparked two major indirect initiatives. First, the U.S. has a stronger push to upgrade the icebreaker fleet. Compared to Russia, the U.S. has just 2 icebreakers, one of which is broken. China has 2 as well, with plans to build another. Now, one of the icebreaker in China's fleet was acquired from Ukraine. There are 54 Russian icebreakers in service, a significant portion of which are nuclear powered, all equipped with weaponry. And as the competition for Arctic resources intensifies, you can expect the government to push for bolstering this fleet. In this same vein, there will also be a push to proceed with plans to build a deep water naval base in Nome. Right now, any large U.S. military vessels are traveling to that area. The U.S. Coast Guard is often the naval answer to any emerging current threats. And the second indirect impact of this saber rattling on the part of Russia and China is that it occurred at the same time that a summit occurred in Saudi Arabia involving diplomats from countries such as China, India, and the United States, but not Russia. Ukraine is a resource-rich country, and it could quickly fill the gap economically for Russian exports to these non-Western countries. Russia's war in Ukraine becomes less tenable if Ukraine can replace them. But to do that, they need to rebuild their economy and infrastructure after suffering 2 years of Russian aggression. Saudi Arabia, India, and China, they could all help with that. But Russia has refused to attend and signaled that they were against any peace deal or talks of a peace deal. Their strong-arm tactics may not hold up if they lose BRICS country support. We'll let you know if anything comes of this and if Russia can hold its alliances together with more lavish promises following the BRICS summit held in Johannesburg at the end of this month. We're going to continue to monitor, but we may be witnessing a shift away from passive support of Russia's forever war posture. And as far as the war goes, not much progress is really being made on the ground, but the air battle seems to be shifting in favor of Ukraine. Over the weekend, they struck 2 major Crimean bridges that Russia needs to critically supply their frontline forces in Ukraine's occupied Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions. At the same time, Russian drone attacks are still getting through, but not with the same effectiveness. In a recent wave of attacks, only a handful of approximately 70 drones even made it through the air defenses, and one of those hit a blood transfusion center. Russian drones' low success rate is attributed to the US-built Patriot and Germany's Iris-T. The war appears to be turning to the air in this latest phase, but shows no significant indicators of closing. And finally, you're probably going to want to watch for a new covert front of this world war to continue to open on the continent of Africa. And as we previously reported, Wagner forces are very active on this continent. Wagner is in Sudan, Mozambique, Mali, and Niger, to name just a few countries. There's a new proxy war aimed at the West and a resource grab. Now, the most recent in this Moscow orchestrated coup is in Niger, but there have been conflicts, revolutions, and election tampering in every country where Wagner, Russia's private military group, resides. Niger's major exports are oil, gold, uranium, and thorium. The country is the 7th largest supplier of the world's uranium. And this recent coup is just one of many across a swath of Africa where Russian involvement is undeniable. The Niger coup participants, though they were 3,500 miles from Moscow, waved Russian flags and shouted praises to Putin. Moscow's involvement in the situation is unmistakable. It's something to keep an eye on, and we certainly will. Weather anomalies. Though we are still calling these extreme off-the-chart weather events anomalies, they occur worldwide with greater regularity. It's midwinter in South America at the moment, but it's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Winter heat waves are even plaguing the high Andes and melting snowpack that people typically depend upon during warmer months. Now, abnormally warm winter temperatures have also been observed in Australia, Africa, and some island regions. And beyond these known out-of-season temperature extremes, there are at least a few weather anomalies at work that are entirely unprecedented, and we just don't know what their inevitable impact will be as we head into winter. Now, I feel I have to warn you about them here because we know that these extreme storms, temperature spikes, and troughs will plague infrastructure and agriculture in the coming years. And while it's too early to tell with any certainty how strong this current El Nino cycle will be, it is already moving high on the charts, and it wasn't supposed to peak until sometime in the winter. Add to this the unseasonably warming in the North Atlantic, high-pressure heat domes forming and lingering longer, and record lows of sea ice, and we are in uncharted territory with what the weather will be for the rest of this year and next. The only thing we can predict with really any degree of certainty will be more intense droughts for some areas, torrential rain for others, and extremes of highs and lows, with mild weather being more of a rarity. We covered this all in a recent video, which I'll link to below. You can expect that even the most historically temperate zones will be impacted. These are also the areas with the least infrastructure in place to handle these weather extremes. Now, traditionally, they haven't had to. I would encourage you to take the time to understand these weather extremes and the historical record of your area, the great floods, prolonged heat waves, and cold snaps, and watch one of our videos addressing what to do when these things happen. Gear your preps to withstand the uncertain, but certainly extreme weather conditions that we're going to face in the very near future. Are you experiencing any weather extremes this year? Tell us about it, along with what you believe the reasons are in the comments below. Giveaway. This week's giveaway is a hiking backpack, and to be eligible for a chance to win, all you have to do is post a comment below and click the thumbs up icon. Now, to be entered to win, you need to leave a comment on this video, and again, give it a thumbs up. I'll announce a winner next week in our news segment. Now, the winner of the last video's giveaway of the Coleman cooking stove is the subscriber SW Beck. Congrats. I'll contact you shortly to get that sent out to you. Deepening Divides. As if nature's problems weren't enough to contend with on their own, there's a problem of our own making that continues to threaten our security, the continued hyperpartisanship that plagues politics today. Here too, we are in uncharted territory with a former president with multiple indictments leveled against him. Now, last week when we released the news of a potential Trump indictment, he was indicted that day for a third time. Now it appears that a potential fourth indictment will come from Georgia any day now, at least before the end of this month, according to the DA there. Now, I'm not going to use this platform to explore the merits or lack of merits of any of these indictments or whether they are warranted. Plenty of lawyers and pundits are making the mass media news cycles to do that for you. My only interest in this is two things. First, do these indictments potentially set a precedent for future presidents? Now, second, as we head into another presidential election cycle, these are troubling signs of an ever-deepening divide. And I would encourage you, as Mr. Rogers once said, to always look for the helpers. These political battles are just one more contributor to the world being a darker place, to our futures having an anxiousness about them in our present. Amid these ongoing political battles that add to the world's unsettling atmosphere and our present anxieties about the future, avoiding contributing to divisions is crucial. I would encourage you to focus on individuals working to mend situations instead of engaging in negativity and criticism. Be one of those bridge-building helpers. And if you find yourself brewing animosity, busy yourself with the same positive work that builds your preps, knowledge, or community of family and friends. My encouragement to you, especially after witnessing the events of this year in the last several years, is to take advantage of the time you have. Apply at least some of that time to the service of others, and you will be all the better for it. Nobody really knows what the political endgame will be, which side will win or which side will lose. I do know that if you fail to prep, when both sides lose, as they will, they'll likely drag you into the conflict and down with them. We're stronger together, I believe. That's just my opinion on it, sure, but please be aware of these ever-deepening divides and how close you are to falling into the chasm. What do you think? Are you making any special preparations to counter the divisions that will continue in the future, or is your area stable once again? Let us know in the comments below. Again, as I say every week, I know there's a lot to take in, but stay encouraged, continue to do what you do, prepare, store away food, build your gear, build your supplies, and do what you can with the time that you have. As always, stay safe out there.